Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hopefully you can hear me now. I don't know what happened there. The sound just suddenly dropped out. Don't tell me something has changed in here. Yes, you can hear me. Thank God for that. That had me panicked. We had a phone call from Oracle who actually let me know that there was no sound. So God knows what was going. The sound is probably out of sync now, but don't worry about that. God knows what happened. God knows what happened there. God knows. Anyway, let's try that again, shall we? It is the 1st of August 2021. We're here in the Podding Shed, ready to talk about your failures and successes in gardening. I was just doing a roll call and seeing who was out there. So well, we've got people out there. Stuart saying, yeah, that's better. Turbo Stream, yeah. Aim Beddoes, that's better. Digwell Green Fingers, woohoo, yes. Adrian, yes, good. We can hear you. We can hear you from Julia. Hello to everybody. Has completely thrown me while there was no sound for a second. So how are we all doing? How are we doing today? What have I been up to over this last week? And what have you been up to as well in your own allotment garden? Let me know. Let's let me know in the comments, or you can call in on 07307 135 174, or you can zap yourself in on the link that's going up in our Facebook group and our Facebook page. So what have I been doing? I've been pricking out a lot more plants, getting ready for our winter vegetables. Cabbages, we've got some Perillia, that's all getting hardened off and ready to go outside. Soon be time for planting. Yesterday, I went to Wisley Gardens. Fantastic time. Had a fantastic visit out at Wisley Garden. Lee Skinny Jean Gardner actually managed to get us tickets because he was doing a talk up there. They've got this wonderful World Food Garden, which is a new thing. Highly recommend it. It's a fantastic visit. There's a lot of stuff growing that I've never seen before or heard of. Real. I can't believe I've never been there before. And then this morning I went down to my allotment, harvested more of my potatoes because of the blight that has came through. That's caused no ends of problems. Still got a few potatoes that haven't caught blight, so they're going to be okay. They are blight resistant, but it's annoying that the what has got blight has done it. But what I found, where I've dug out all the potatoes in the past in those areas, the couch grass isn't coming back in. It's staying away. You'll hear all about this on Monday's podcast. And then after that, I've also been sowing some more green manure, some Phacelia, in order to keep our soils in good fertility and suppress the weeds. So that's what I've been up to over this week. But what about you? What have you been doing? Julia Hartley, like I said at the Veg Grower podcast, it happens to the best, evidently, talking about the sound issues. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Well, I do. Settings have somehow changed themselves on my laptop. They do this from time to time, and I don't always spot it. And it's always audio. So Turbo Stream is getting straight in with his failures, which we'll get into in a bit of a moment. My failures are the brassicas. They always run to seed. I think I sowed/planted too early. Yeah, I mean, sowing or planting too early can cause brassicas to go to seed or start to flower. But I think the number one cause with many of them is that they get too hot, and that leads them to flowering. So that's why I tend to try and grow most of my cabbages, my cauliflowers, to be ready over winter into spring. I try not to grow them over summer, or not make so much of an effort to grow them over the summer. Dave Ford, at least I don't have to worry about watering the veg patch at the moment. Sadly, it looks like most of the tomatoes have got blight. Yeah, this year has been an interesting year. Blight has came in, the weather has done a lot of damage, but blight at the moment, a lot of people have lost a lot of tomatoes. I don't think any of my outdoor tomatoes have survived, even my blight-resistant ones. I'm keeping a close eye, and we'll see how they get on. My ones in the greenhouse seem to be doing okay. But yeah, blight is just a bit of a problem this year. But even the potatoes, that's been pretty bad. Ballycillian is saying we eventually got some rain to be, so been harvesting most of this week. Yeah, we've had a lot of rain this year. Even this last week, we've had a lot of rain. So, and Adrian's finally got rain this week. So fantastic. Everyone's getting some good amounts of rain. Stuart Jackson, I've been away for a week, so my lovely next door neighbour looked after my garden with great success. My best success was finding this group. Fantastic. Dennis Moore. Is this the Dennis I met yesterday? If it is, please let me know, because you sent me an email last night, but I tried to reply, and unfortunately it got sent back to me through Mail Demon, if that is you. Loads of flowers on my runner beans, taking ages for them to set, just starting to set now, probably was too hot. Yes, runner beans do like a bit of a misting from time to time, especially when it's hot, with some summer, with a hose pipe on a mister setting or something. That might be what's gone on, and that also helps flowers to set. I've never done that myself, but it's something I've heard a lot of. It was the Dennis I've met yesterday. Thank you. Lovely to see you. Lovely to meet you yesterday as well at Wisley. You sent me an email last night. I was trying to email you back, so for some reason your email, or it got sent back by Mail Demon. If you could email me again, richard@thevegggrowerpodcast.co.uk, be great to have a proper chat. I tried looking for you after I saw you yesterday to try and have a chat, but it's such a big place I couldn't see anyone. But lovely to see you anyway. Have you tried spraying baking soda to slow down stop blight? I've never heard that little tip, in all honesty. That's a new one to me. Baking soda on to stop blight. Interesting. Never heard that one. We used to have, what was it? Like a copper fungicide, but that's been banned, which probably tells you it's no good. So baking soda, well, we eat it, so I should think that's everyone. Beatrice has joined. Good evening, everyone. Just home from the Lottie. I lose track of time when I am there. Yeah, we all do that. I say I'm only going to go down to the allotment for an hour, and that turns into 4 hours, didn't it? Ernie is saying, did you get caught in a downpour over the weekend? No, actually, this weekend we've had pretty good weather here. We've had, during the week, we've had strong winds and rain, but this weekend weather has been good. To be fair, I was up in Wisley, like I said yesterday, and had a good day out. But the sun was shining. There was a few showers, actually, now I remember, but we were inside at that time watching Lee's talk. So it is recommended by the USDA over in America for using baking soda to prevent blight. I'll have to try that one. I've not heard of it, but that sounds interesting. Adrian is saying hello. Hi all from Stuart Reynolds. So Stuart is in the Facebook group. Anybody in the Facebook group, I may not see who you are. So just put a little, like Stuart has done, just let me know who you are so I can get your name correct. Okay, so that keep telling me what you've been up to over this weekend. Now, if you heard Monday's podcast, you would have heard that I've harvested all my garlic now. And I said that I was doing an experiment about sowing garlic in May, or in March, sorry, compared to overwintered garlic. And I've got wrong camera, there we go. I've got two cloves of two different garlic varieties here. Now, these are not the best out of the bunch. These are probably the smallest that I harvested, but I thought for the case of showing what we had tonight, this is going to be a good start. So this is the garlic. It's early purple white, and it was planted in the beginning of October last year. And okay, that bulb is not as anywhere near as big, but that was one of the smallest ones. But as you can see, it has created little cloves, as expected. But this one, the variety was Flavour. And this was sown at the end of March, beginning of April. And I thought, and all the books tell us that is too late to sow garlic, because otherwise it doesn't create cloves. Let's have a look and see. As you can see, got a lot of good papery stuff. Let's try and, if I can break it, look at that. We've got cloves. So that is something that I didn't expect to happen on that experiment. However, April was quite cold, and that may have been why it split into cloves. We're going to try that again next year and see how it gets on. So I think this is Stuart Reynolds. All my tomatoes outside have blight. Yeah, I think all mine do too. The only ones that seem to be doing better are the ones in hanging baskets at the moment. I know hanging baskets are meant to be better for tomatoes anyway. They're meant to be able to withstand blight better or not catch blight. But that's an interesting experiment, but worth thinking about if you're going to go try and grow tomatoes next year. Look upon them in hanging baskets, and they may not get blight. It's been such a horrible year for blight. It raises the pH on the leaves to 8 and stops the blight. I'm just trying it. Well, Digwell, that I'm interested to see if that works. Are you going to be making a video of this experiment to put on the on your YouTube channel? TurboStream, is it too late to send a photo? Yeah, I'm sorry, it is. I have no way to access my email here because I'm out in the shed, and if I try and access my email, it might slow things down that I can't get on. We'll look at doing that in the future to try and send photos in live on the show. David Mostly got loads of seeds at 15p a pack as they have moved to the next promotion. Should be in all the shops. Yeah, it's it's the time of year when the discounts start flying in garden centres or Wilkinson's and places like that. So keep your eye out if you're after bargains. Welsh Wonder Jason Patrick. Hi Richard, I heard their roast garlic, some places see it. I heard their roast garlic, some places see it. Not sure quite what you mean there, so that might be my mistake. My purple white garlic did really well this year. I'm going to order the same again for the autumn. Yeah, I was keeping an order going in with the garlic farm this year, but I'm probably actually going to save my biggest bulbs again. That's something I tend to do anyway. Digwell, no video, sorry. It was a knee-jerk reaction to slow things down a bit. Okay, well, instead, just keep us informed on whether it works or not, because I'm interested if this baking soda actually works at keeping back blight. I think a lot of people will be interested to find out. And it's horrible, isn't it? I'm just watching people's tomatoes and potatoes crop just die devastatingly low. Such a shame, such a shame. Ballycillion is asking what the mix is with the baking soda to Digwell. So this is a great thing that I love about these sort of chats that we can have. Somebody suggests something as a little tip, and we can see where it goes. I'm really interested in this baking soda. Stuart R, I got some garlic from a supermarket and planted that, and it is as massive. Not buying seed garlic again. Seed garlic is expensive when you compare it to the price of garlic you might. Oh, the rain's coming in now. I can hear that. The garlic you might buy from a garlic supplier, it is quite expensive. But that's why I always save my biggest clove or biggest bulb and replant that. And it's done me well over the years. Nikki in Nature, peas have been a disaster this year. Think they all got eaten by mice. Yeah, that's always been my problem with peas as well. The seeds seem to get eaten by mice. And I don't think, if I sow them in here and then plant them out, I don't think they do as well. But what I did this year is I actually did plant some peas or sow some peas directly in my beds at home, and they did fantastically well, a lot better than anything on the allotment. You've probably heard me say on the podcast a lot, the home plot seems to be growing a lot better than the allotment this year for many, many, many reasons. Durka is saying over in Canada, first rain in 45 days, no blight here. Well, you've had a really hot spell, so you may escape the blight, but I'm keeping a close eye on everything to find out. So let's get in to the main subject that I want to talk about today. What are your failures and your success stories? If you want to call in, it's 07307 135 174. Or if you want to zap yourself in and appear on screen with myself, then the link is going up in the Facebook page and the Facebook group in just a moment. I have been cooking today, so we got, and this is a Digwell's video that we're going to watch and show you what I cooked. That's coming up a little bit later on. So Durka, best to use your own garlic because it acclimatizes to your area. That's why I've always saved the garlic, the biggest bulb, and then I replant that next year. And that's something I've done for years. This early purple white, I mean, this is obviously the smallest one, but that I've been growing for years and saving the seeds, and it's acclimatized in theory to my growing conditions, to my plot. That being said, I think this year I'm going to grow some at home as well and just see how much better they do. Now, Adrian is saying, I always think peas make a plot look untidy. I kind of get where you're coming from there, because they are a bit rampant and they grow up and they can take over. But you cannot beat the taste of fresh grown peas. I tell you what, let me start off these failure/success stories. Now, personally, I hate the word failures when it comes to gardening. I personally, and I've said this with an article I wrote for Thompson and Morgan, I see failures as a learning curve. So if something doesn't work, we got to, why didn't it work? What can we do? Let's readjust this. And if that works, we've learned from it. So failures for me are a bit of a non-existent thing. They're a learning curve. But whenever I get asked this question, the one story that I immediately think of happened 3-4 years ago. I bought all my seed potatoes and I put them into trays in my old potting shed up on a shelf in order that they could start to shoot. Forget what the correct name, the term for it is called. And they're all up there. They were doing nicely. And then something happened and they all fell over. And every single potato got mixed with each other. Now, when I put them out, I put each different variety in its own tray. Well, because they all fell into each other all over the floor, I didn't know what was the International Kidney, what was a Home Guard, what was a King Edward, all over the place. That was the failure that I can think of off the top of my head, but I learned from it. And I learned that when it comes to chitting potatoes, that's the word I was looking for, chitting. When it comes to that, we have to think about potting our potatoes up somewhere safer where they're less likely to get knocked down. So that's my first failure story. Over to you guys out there. Now, Digwells came back with the information with regards to how much baking soda. So he says 10 grams of baking soda to a litre of water, add half a teaspoon of cooking oil to it and a few drops of soap. This amount did me for 20 potato plants. This is his way of hopefully stopping or preventing blight. We're going to keep a close eye and see if it works. Money Boots has joined. Hello, how are you? Cauliflowers for me, lots of green, but not hearting up. I think cauliflowers are always a tricky plant for most gardeners, especially if you're trying to grow them through the summer. I tend now, I'll probably sow cauliflowers this month actually, and grow them over the winter and into the spring. I don't even bother trying to grow them in the summer anymore. I just think it gets a bit too hot for them. But that normally leads to them hearting up and then bolting. The fact that they're not, from Money Boots, Nigel, not hearting up, slightly worrying. Turbo Stream, my late sown onions from seed were a success to my surprise. Harvesting this afternoon. I know, actually, I do remember earlier in the year, Tabby Stream, you were saying that you were having a lot of trouble with your onions. So you sowed them again and they came back. It's interesting as well. I want to keep bringing it, not meaning to bring it back to me, but I know this year I sowed some onions from seed. Now, normally I have trouble growing onions from seed, but I planted a few at home and they are still growing. They are still producing. Tells me everything I need to know. The allotment is no good for seed sown onions. Stuart Reynolds is saying a failure was going on holiday in June as the weeds went mad. Yeah, we've all done that, haven't we? I always think it's weird that we tend to go on holiday in summer when our gardens are looking best. I gotta admit, I tend to go September, October time now, so I can make the most of our best weather and carry on gardening. Either that or we'll go in May, just before everything kicks off, but May can be quite busy. Now, David has found this online. Step 1, mix 3 tablespoons of baking soda with a gallon of water. Step 2, mix in 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And step 3, mix in 2 drops of dish soap to help emulsify. Now, just to cover myself, because I know there is a legal thing that recommending using certain things that are as a pesticide or as a fungicide that are not meant to be a fungicide or pesticide. There's certain, I think, European laws that say we shouldn't be doing it. So I'm going to cover myself by saying, not saying we should do this, but Digwell is trying it. Saving the biggest bulb sounds like a good idea. It would save me about £10 when you P&P. Yeah, exactly. You know, a bulb of garlic, seed garlic, is pretty expensive, but it is good quality. Digwell, using one of the pens I told you about last week and write the potato variety initial letter on each potato. No mix-up then. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that. Yeah, actually writing on the potato. I never thought of doing that, but that is a good idea. The pens that he recommended last week, which I've been looking at during the week. Nikki has harvested a cauliflower today. It just goes to show it can be done. Like I say, I don't tend to try and grow cauliflowers for this time of year, but I'll grow them at other times of year. But I know if you can shade them out or do something to keep them cool, this year probably not so difficult. You can do it. You can do it. Nigel, my first year on the plot, I got all my brassicas mixed up. That is when I began to number the pots with electrical tape. That's actually, yes, that is a good failure, and I'm sure it's something that we've all done, or we've sown something and not taken a note of what's there or pots or what's in what pot. That, funny enough, is what I'll do when I sow seeds, and it's one of my tips. I write out the label before I start sowing the seed, so I can write it out, pot it in the pot, and then I'll sow the seed. Just means that nothing gets lost, nothing gets confused, nothing gets mixed up. However, I did sow some seeds which are, I think, is it these ones? I'll just try and dig them out. Yeah, these ones. I'll bring it onto second camera. They're obviously some type of brassica. The seed had no label as to what they are. Got a bit leggy, but that's not a problem. So I've no idea what they are, but I'm going to make the most out of it and just grow them and see what they are. My onions bowled up after the longest day too. Yeah, this is what I've been learning, and it's been a fantastic experience. Balicilians, the biggest mistake is not sticking to the growing plans I make over winter, then run out of room. Oh, so easily done. So easily done. I've got to say, the Christmas dinner bed, I feel that has run out of room. The potatoes particularly have taken over that bed. And I think if I was to do that again, I would probably grow potatoes in buckets. But yeah, running out of room, something we all do, isn't it? Turbo Stream will grow my brassicas from winter from now on. I sowed some cabbage this week. I think this is a thing that many veg gardeners tend to do, fair weather gardeners, isn't it? You know, we need to eat all year round so we can grow certain things all year round. Therefore, we might as well make the most of it. And you got the ground, you got the space, get in there, grow cabbages, grow overwintering Brussels sprouts or purple sprouting broccoli, cauliflowers. Just make the use of it and while we can. And that's certainly my attitude. Either that or I'm doing green manures, as I said earlier, sowing this Phacelia. I'm just going to have a swig of this coffee. And thank you very much for showing us the labelling system, Nigel. A lifesaver for me with 21 varieties sown this year. Yeah. Highly recommend, if anybody does want to see Nigel's labelling system, go and check it out because it's certainly worth checking out. What else have we got? Just planted out. Durka has just planted out 3 sets of brassicas, had cauliflower and now broccoli. Fantastic. Hargrave Gas. My failure is red onions, white and brown, not an issue. But for some reason, my red onions always fail. See, I find red onions are always smaller than the brown or white onions, but they're still good enough. Definitely smaller, but I'll still use them. I'll still eat them. My wife will only use red onions or insist on using red onions. If I bring in white or brown, she has a fit, but she has to suck it up sometimes, I tell her. Oh, sorry. I hit the button by accident. That wasn't meant to happen. I've got a thing down here that I just hit the buttons, and as my hand went down, I hit the button. Issues galore again tonight. Got some winter cabbage and cauliflower ready to plant out. Now I have created the room. Yes, yeah, that's why I'm getting my cabbages and pricking them out, potting them on, getting them ready. We can fill up room as potatoes or onions or garlic is clearing out. Even my broad beans are now clear. It just feels good to continually, I think anyway, continually try and grow something. Have we got... Now, David Mosley feels sorry for the new gardeners starting this year with what has been a hard year for gardening. It has been an exceptionally hard year for gardening, hasn't it? A lot of rain, a lot of weird weather. Even, I think, was it Thursday? We had some really stormy windswept weather, you know, in end of June. It's very, very rare. Very, very rare, but excuse me. Yeah, the new gardeners, you know, but don't get despondent. If you are a new gardener, don't let it get you down. You can always do it again. So, I've got no pictures to share with you guys today, I'm afraid to say. But what we've got is that I said last week we're going to borrow Digwell Greenfinger's video of his broad bean hummus. So I've got that video ramped up and ready to go. Let's the wrong one. That's the one we want. Let me bring it in and we'll see what happens.
Quicker today. I don't know why I say quick because it never ends up quick. Anyway, broad bean and mint hummus, all made with my own ingredients. So it's a plot to plate recipe.
Hopefully you guys can hear this okay. The sound should be going out with you as well. Let me know if it's not, but I'm pretty sure I set it out like that.
All right, guys. Well, with my glut of broad beans, over 6 kilograms I have. Brilliant. Anyway, I'm making
6 kilograms of broad beans. My wife would go mental if I brought that many broad beans back. I like broad beans. She can't stand them.
broad bean hummus. Mint flavoured, not sesame, although I'm going to put some sesame seeds in and some sesame oil. First up, boil the beans. Okay, that's them cooked. About 5 minutes. Just test one, make sure they're cooked all right. Strain them off. And then get rid of that. Quickly plunge them into cold water with ice in it. And it's just...
See, this is what I love doing. Cooking outside, as Stigwell's doing here. A fantastic way. You see all the what looks like basil or other plants scattered around. I know when I was on the allotment and I used to be able to have a barbecue, I used to love cooking outside. Should do it more at home. That way I would have ice available for doing this little trip as well.
Helps them keep their colour and makes it easier to peel. So what we're going to do next is peel them. Just pinch one, that's an easy one. Just pinch one end, squeeze it out. Pinch the end, squeeze it out. Pinch the end, squeeze it out. Pinch the end, squeeze it out. Go into the swing of it towards the end. Right. There we are. And there's all the shells. Right, let's go and get the food.
That shelled beans, don't waste it. It goes great on the compost. That's a little thing I wanted to add in there when I was watching this earlier. Don't forget to compost.
Processor. Well, it's simplicity itself. Just put everything in, really. Plus the beans, lemon juice. Excuse my hands. Pinch of, I'm using white pepper. So it's a pinch of white pepper. I'm using white, I don't want the black.
Gotta say, when I did this, I had to use black pepper because we had no white pepper. But we'll show you that a little bit.
Cloud the hummus. Oh, a bit much actually. Teaspoon of salt. Right, I'll put a few sesame seeds in. 12 mint leaves-ish. Just pick these. Just checking they're clean before I put them in. See, 12. Rough enough. A little bit of sesame oil.
Gotta say, I use sesame oil in a lot of stuff. Cooking Chinese or something, love sesame oil. Something about the flavour, really nice.
Done that, right. If you're putting chilli in, up to you. I'm using just a tiniest pinch because it says on it.
I added a lot of chilli. I like chilli though.
Hot. And hummus about hot. And one garlic. I think that's everything now. The rest goes in as we're mixing. Yep.
I don't know if anybody else can see this, but on the bottom of Digwell Steve's blender there's a little countdown. What a fantastic little piece of kit that is.
Yeah, lovely. Here we are, guys. 1 jar of broad bean mint hummus. Very nice. A lot of washing up to do now.
Yeah, the washing up, that's always the pain, isn't it? Cleaning up afterwards. Fantastic that. And I've made it. I've given it a try. I've made a little, well, which way am I going? Crudité here. So I've made this mint and broad bean, I've forgotten what you call it, hummus, that's it. And I've went into my greenhouse and picked a cucumber, and I thought we'll give it a try. So let's see. Oh yeah, that's really nice. That is really nice. That is really, really nice. Thank you, Steve. Please, that is really delicious. Please keep these recipes going in, and I'll try and make them and cook them and taste them out on the live stream. And just like that. Oh, that is beautiful. I won't eat any more because it's difficult to eat and talk and and see how it goes. Digwell saying, "Phew, so glad you like it. No pressure, no pressure at all. It's delicious. It's delicious. The only thing, if anybody does have recipes they want to share anything, the only thing I personally cannot eat is mushrooms because I've got mushroom allergy. Apart from that, anything else is good." Oh, cool. Is going to have to try this out too. It is worth trying. I mean, I've made a big bowl of it, which will live in my fridge, and we'll probably eat that during the week. My wife quite often does like crudité as like a lunch type thing, especially if she's trying to be healthy. She's not keen on broad bean, but I think she might like this one. So, yeah. Turbo Stream has mixer envy, and I can see why. It's a good mixer, a good blender in the kitchen goes a long way. And Adrian says a refrigeration engineer with no ice. I've actually got an ice machine in my house, a proper industrial ice machine, which comes out every now and then. Idaho Garden Girl has joined. And hello to you, excuse me, sorry. I have gophers that are destroying different areas. Yeah, I hear a lot of problems with gophers. I think the closest thing we have to gophers are rabbits, which are just as bad. And they're not easy to keep out at the best of times. But I always say my attitude is to give them sacrificial crops. And Ian McGorgan has also joined. I hope I pronounced your surname right. I never know how to pronounce some surnames. So apologies if I ever get anybody's name wrong. What else? So Beatrice is saying it sounds yummy. How long does it keep for? I'm going to hazard a guess. I reckon about a week keeping it in a fridge, but we'll leave that over to Digwell to answer better because he's the one that made it and shared the recipe. Graham Arnold, weeding today and noticed a couple of my Musselburgh leeks have bolted. Well, that goes down to the failures. Let's bring that banner back up. Where is it? That goes down to the failures. That is annoying, though, isn't it, when your leeks bolt or even your garlic or your onions bolt? But it's what happens sometimes. The weather it goes against you. It gets too hot. A plant is going to bolt. Sometimes you just have to look on the bright side and think, well, this is my attitude with it when this sort of things happen. Let's try and save some seed from it. Let's try and turn it into a good thing. Oh gosh, too much as here. We need sun, but looks wet this week, and I need to cut my field. I'm hoping it's going to dry up a little bit this week because we definitely need some sunshine. I mean, it's just tipped it down just now, but the rest of the time it is quite dry. And I just want to get a bit of sunshine, a bit of dry weather, cut the lawn, do all the things that need doing. Digwell loves to see other people's recipes too. I do too. Love recipes, love cooking. Something I don't do enough of these days is cooking. It's frustrating to both me and my wife, but that's life gets in the way, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. That's the great thing I loved about being on furlough. I was at cooking every night, and I was like, like back into that on my old self, where I was like, want to make a lasagna, but we'll add chorizo or something to it. Nigel Money Boots also recommends Steve's blackberry cake. I would check that blackberry cake out and have a word with the wife. Blackberries are coming into season now, I'm seeing. So, yeah. Oracle says, Digwell, keep this up. Richard will have to give him a 10-minute slot. Anybody has any recipes and wants to do something like that, let me know. Let me know by Wednesday before the show so I can get everything and cook it in advance, and I'll do exactly the same. Try it out live on the live stream. Digwell goes on to say, when you shell the boiled beans, they taste more like peas. So good idea for non-bean lovers. I did not know that, actually. I've usually left the shells in when I've eaten them, so I'm going to try that and see if the wife will eat them when they are shelled. Cooking with Digwell weekly segment. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me. But don't forget, Digwell does put these recipes on his own YouTube channel. Please do go check out his YouTube channel and see his recipes as well. I don't want to take all his thunder away, but more than happy to cook the stuff that he likes. Is that washed down with a cup of tea, Nigel? Oh, a nice piece of cake and a cup of tea. Lovely. Digwell says it keeps for about 4 or 5 days. It keeps for about 4 or 5 days as it is a fresh dish. That's what I thought, 4 or 5 days. I think you could probably get away with freezing it if you make a big batch and freeze it into smaller batches, but there might be a slight difference in consistency when you defrost it. My garden at the moment, this is from Adrian, everything is a failure. Stinging nettles have taken over. Yeah. You know, weeds are taking over my allotment. The couch grass is becoming particularly difficult this year, but I'm learning ways to fight it and certainly learning a lot from it. Like I said, using the grass clippings as a mulch has helped suppress the weeds on the bed where I've placed those down. The beds where I grew the potatoes in, I had Basilia as a green manure growing over winter. The weeds, now I've cleared out some potatoes, the weeds aren't coming back anywhere near like they used to. So I think it's a case of growing green manures, constantly mulching, constantly having something growing in and sheltering, shading all the weeds out seems to work. Richard, I hope to meet you at the Board Explorer Week. Well, so I'll tell you my name as everyone gets it wrong. Yeah, next one I should be there. Not failures is the only excuse needed to return the following year to attempt to do better. You couldn't have said it better. My always answer with failures is that they are learning curves. I said this earlier. What went wrong? Why didn't it work? Let's try something different. And if that works, fantastic. If it didn't, try something else. It's a learning curve. Learning curve. The shell of the broad bean is quite bitter from Turbo Stream, and yeah, this is surprising. I think in the future I will shell the broad beans. It's going to take forever to do, but keeps the wife happy. It means she'll eat them more. I cannot complain. Turbo Stream, one success this year is mulching. We'll definitely do that from now on. That's what I've been saying. Yeah, a success certainly from this year has been learning how to mulch, or using the mulching, using green manures, using everything to really try and keep on top of the weeds and on the watering, and how much it has really boosted things. Stuart is asking if you can use frozen broad beans. I don't see why not. And Digwell is not a failure. You can eat the nettles, make a nice tea with them, and they are excellent in compost heaps. Nettles are also make a nice soup, especially if you can get them when they're young. Like I say, I personally do not like or necessarily like the term failure. I think it's just a learning curve or something that we can improve upon. The failure has a bit of a negative connotation in my eyes. Now, something that I've always failed to grow, and I've tried again this year, I've tried to make it grow, is okra. Now, I love okra. I use it in gumbo when I make okra, but I've never been able to grow it. I've sown seeds and transplanted them. I've sown seeds directly where they are, which I did this year. They haven't germinated at all. So I don't, as I said earlier, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as a learning curve. Usually when I sow okra and then transplant it, it grows better, but it just doesn't seem to produce anything. That is what you might call a failure, but I see it, as I said, a learning curve. But let's switch this up to a success. About 5-6 years ago, first time I ever grew sweet potatoes. And I planted it all out in a very large bed full of horse manure, fresh, well-rotted horse manure. Planted sweet potatoes into that, and I got something like 5 kilograms of sweet potatoes. Absolutely delicious and beautiful, nice sized sweet potatoes. Always thought it wasn't possible to grow sweet potatoes here in the UK, thinking it's more of a summer loving plant. I was wrong. It is so worth growing sweet potatoes here in the UK if you can get the conditions right. And the conditions I found, they need a lot of sun, a lot of heat, and a lot of moisture, which is why I find that growing them in horse manure seemed to work. Now, another success I've had, and this was with a watermelon, when I grew a watermelon. At first, I thought we were only going to get about a pea-sized watermelon, but it didn't. It grew into a good, big, not as big as what you might buy from abroad, but a nice big watermelon. But best of all, it was the best tasting watermelon that I've ever eaten. Full of juicy flavour, so nice and fresh. I dread to think how old supermarket watermelons were. Definite big success there. So let's have a quick look at what everyone's saying in the comments again. So Digwell, who's obviously got getting a lot of love for his broad bean and mint hummus, which I'm going to eat again because it is delicious. That is nice. That is so nice. I write everything down on a spreadsheet so I know what went right and what went wrong for the next year. The only real exception is the weather. Yeah. If spreadsheets work for you, then all well and good. I don't find spreadsheets work for me, but I find recording audio, speaking into a microphone works for me, and I can always refer back to that to find things out. Keeping a record is obviously a great way of learning what we did that. Stuart Jackson, another success was collecting water. Added another water bat, so now we have 3. Well, funny enough, talking about rainwater saving, that's something we're going to talk about next week. That was one of the subjects that came up last week people wanted to hear. And as I have 15 water bats at home, we'll save that for next week. Ian McGorgan, and I'm going to pronounce that surname for now. My failure is Brussels sprouts as flowery. So next year I will stake, as you say, Richard, or can I sow some now? I think it's going to be a bit too late to sow any Brussels sprouts now. You might be lucky and find some in a garden centre. I doubt it, but it's worth a look. But I certainly think your problem was that they rocked in the wind. I remember you talking about this. They rocked in the wind and that left them to go flowery. So please do stake them. Richard Phobes has joined. Good evening to you. Arrived late. Well, 100 lines, please, Mr. Phobes. That's punishment. Success is my pumpkins grown on the compost heap, as I showed Ian to do. Yeah, I've done that for a few years. I haven't actually done it this year, funny enough, but I do find that if you've got a full compost bin and you want somewhere to plant pumpkins, it seems to work because they just go into that ground, go into that, or the pumpkins go into that compost. They take in all those nutrients, all that rotting down stuff. Takes it all in, and it uses that compost heap as a growing space. So fantastic way of using it, and I find it produces some good pumpkins. Now, I don't grow pumpkins for carving. I grow pumpkins for food. I want to make that very, very clear because I find carving pumpkins to be a bit wasteful in my eyes, and I'd sooner be able to eat something than carve it. But yeah. And pumpkin soup, pumpkin risotto, it's delicious. Digwell, you say recording audio helps you. That is why I started filming videos to help me look back on the success of failures long before YouTube. Exactly. And this is where I see people who produce YouTube videos as a vlog type thing. I think many of us do start it as a way to record what we're doing, and so we can see what works, what fails. It's certainly in the garden scene, but now YouTubers came along and we put it out there. People are interested in seeing what works and what doesn't work for other people as well, and this is why I've built my podcast up on the back of, because I just love being able to talk into a microphone and say, this is what I've done today and this is what works and what hasn't. Adrian, would pumpkins like sheep poo? My guess would be that any type of manure, sheep manure, I believe, is quite a good one because it's quite a cool manure, so it won't burn. I believe. I could be wrong. I'm trying to, things going off in the back of my head trying to remember. So, I mean, at the end of the day, sheep poo, even rotted down in a compost heap, it's organic matter that will go well in a garden. And God knows, especially on the allotment, I need a lot of it. A lot of organic matter, that is. Usually, actually, the point I've thought of earlier, usually my allotment site would have a delivery of some horse manure several times throughout the year. We haven't had it this year. Notice, well, we've got building work going on, but I think also last year with lockdown and everything, I don't think we've had a delivery as much. which is annoying, very annoying, because I want to try and boost up and build a lot of my my compost bins by using something like horse manure and stuff. But I could transport it in the back of a van, of course, but it's become smelly and messy that I try not to do that now. Just got to try and find a supply of some manure. I've got chickens at home, which supply chicken manure at home. I need another form of or supply of manure for the allotment. Last year from Idaho Garden Girl, I planted kaleets out quite late. I figured they were lost, but they were dormant in the winter and came back and grew in the spring. I'm going to try to repeat that this year. Yeah, that's actually something I find a lot. When we experiment and try and pot things in later than we should. One example I can think of, last year I potted some beetroot really late. I think it was something like September, October. Put that in the garden and it grew all over winter. I was harvesting beetroot fresh out the garden as late as February, and that's only because I ran out of it. I didn't expect that to work. I really did not expect that to work. I thought the frost would come along and kill off the beetroot. Didn't. It worked. I've missed something. So Ian has said to Mr. Vobes, you need to grow some veg in pots. Get Richard to sort you out. We've spoken about this, Mr. Vobes and I. Mr. Vobes is after a large amount of land in order to create an old-fashioned farming lifestyle. It's something we've talked about at great length. Adrian, I was told that horse manure was more gentle to plants than cattle, pigs, and sheep. I think horse manure is a hot manure, so it has to be rotted down, same as chicken manure. But I believe, and I could be wrong on this, I believe sheep is a bit more of a cooler manure, so it doesn't burn the plants when it goes onto the soil as much, which means we can get away and use it a bit more. I know the best one is something like alpaca manure. That is very, very cool, and that is meant to be able to go straight on the garden and be shared out and used. Now, I don't know anybody who's actually ever burnt plants using a hot manure. If anybody has done that, that would be classed as a failure. Let us know in the comments. Idaho says that is awesome that the beetroot overwintered. I was surprised at that. I was very surprised at that. In fact, I'm probably going to sow some more beetroot this month and try and do it again. Just seemed a great idea. Obviously, beetroot leaves we use, the beetroot themselves, all make some great, fantastic uses in the kitchen. Don't forget, if you want to call in, 07307 135 174, or the link if you want to zap yourself in and appear on screen is now in the chat as well. Or it should be in the chat. Unless you're watching in the Facebook group, then it doesn't go to the Facebook group. Ian, oh no, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Idaho, I'd love to try and overwinter beets. I will have to research winter hardy beetroot. I didn't even try winter hardy beetroot. It was just your standard beetroot that, well, I can't remember the variety. It might have been Bolt Hardy. I just had it left over. I threw it in there and it worked. It worked. And I'm guessing when you are in Idaho, you might get it, unless you get some really harsh winter. I mean, we're quite mild where we are. And if you get a really harsh winter, you'd probably be okay. But like I say, a pack of beetroot seeds are pretty cheap. What have you got to lose by trying? Horse manure from the fields can be full of weed seeds from the grass. Yeah, that's why cow manure is better, because the cows digest it in several different stomachs, so a lot of the weed seeds get removed. It's my understanding. Same as alpaca and a few others. But horse manure can be full of weed seeds, and I'm pretty sure that's why we get so much couch grass on our allotment, because it came in from the horse manure. But this is where I would throw it in the compost heap first now, let it rot down, then it produce into compost, and then give it a little while longer before I try and use it to try and make sure that there are no weed seeds left in it. Yes, we get harsh winters, Idaho is saying. Well, give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. Give it a try. Let us know how you get on. You can always put a cloche over it to try and help it as well. I'd be interested to find out how you get on with it. So please do keep us posted if you try that. Stuart Jackson, are there no stables near you, Richard? They have to pay to have it removed. Just ask, what have you got to lose? There are stables near us. I used to use one down the road, but unfortunately he had to pack it in for some reason or another. The biggest trouble, the main reason I used the deliveries because it was delivered onto the website, onto the allotment site, so I didn't have to throw it into bags and cart it around in the back of the van. But I'll try. I've got an idea. I've got a few ideas. I'd like to try and get some cow manure, if I'm honest, and I think I know somebody who might be able to give me a supply of that. Stuart's gone on to say, ask any farmer. I'm sure they would be happy to help. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. Digwell says, I used horse manure from an unknown source on one bed this year. Spent most of the year picking up ryegrass. I think that's why I get so much couch grass as well. You know, it must be on this well, the people who had my allotment before me probably used this horse manure that was supplied, came in on the allotment, and that's why I get so much couch grass. Plus, when it was empty, the rotavators, the council ran through it as well, chopped everything up nice and small. It's a nightmare, couch grass, and I think it is due to the horse manure. I am finding where horse manure isn't used, or I've used a different supply, it's not so bad, but I've got to get on top of it. So, got a swig of my coffee coming up. That is better. I want to have another try of this beautiful crudité with this. I'm really enjoying this. Really enjoying this broad bean hummus. I mean, obviously having a fresh cucumber straight out of the greenhouse about 10 minutes before I went live probably helps as well. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. That's so nice, so nice. Right, so have we got any more failures and success stories? Just looking over my notes. Melons. That's a failure for me. Every year I try to grow melons. And I can start the seeds off great. They grow very well. And then I try and plant them out and they seem to die. Now, it could be slugs and snails, but generally speaking, have very few problems with slugs and snails, as you probably heard on Monday's podcast. My number one thought was that it was stem rot. So a bit of water on the stem rots away at the stem and kills off the plant. That's what I think is going on. There we go, excuse me. But every time I try and grow melons, the same thing happens. I've tried not watering and making sure water doesn't land on the stem. I've tried everything. Still doesn't happen. I will keep trying. What I'm thinking of doing next year is to not be in such a rush to get them into the greenhouse. I'm going to try and pot them into a bigger and bigger and bigger pot in order to try and make sure that when it goes into the greenhouse or even outside, it's not going to rot. Fingers crossed that's going to help next year. But that has been one of my biggest failures, getting a melon to grow. David Mostly planted autumn raspberries and all died, dug up, and loads of big white grubs. I think I know what the grubs are. They could be, I want to say chafer grubs. But if you planted out your autumn raspberries, were the grubs there before you planted your autumn raspberries, or did they come in with your autumn raspberry plants? Did you get them from a reputable supplier? I'm sure you did, but I'm wondering if they came in on your plants. I love enjoying all the fresh fruit and veg this time of year. Yeah, me too. Me too. Pretty much every meal at this time of year, well, pretty much all our meals all year round now are from homegrown vegetables. But at the moment, they're obviously harvested straight away and straight on into the garden or into the pan, and we cook them up and eat them like that. And it is beautiful. It's so nice and fresh and delicious. Why is it everyone has such success growing weeds? That has always been something I've said. If weeds were edible, we would be very, I know some weeds are actually edible, but we would be very, very happy if our edible crops or even our flowers grew like weeds. Nasturtiums actually do grow like weeds in my allotment, but that's the only one I can say works like that. Stuart Jackson, I tried growing mushroom once, but I only got about 3 fruits, so cheaper to buy them from a shop. I have absolutely no idea how, well, I've got an idea on how to grow mushrooms, but because of my mushroom allergy, I will not even attempt to grow mushrooms. Just don't think it's worth the risk for me to even try and do that. But I would love to. I really feel like I need to talk to somebody on the podcast who has grown mushrooms, who grows mushroom expertly, and talk about that. It's one thing I wish I could grow but can't. Adrian, my father a long time ago looked after one melon all year. It was the only one he ever had. I would love to get one melon. Actually, I have done in the past. Yes, I have, in my old greenhouse where it was a very small one, and I grew it in a pot and had it trailing and hanging down. That's got me thinking. But one homegrown melon. I know homegrown melons taste amazing, so it's worth, if I could just get that melon to grow, find out what goes wrong, I'll be very, very happy. Were they vine weevil on the raspberry plants? That's another thing I was thinking. Vine weevil would make sense. Very difficult to get rid of course, and very, very horrible. But if you've got them, what I think you have to do is try and dig over the soil and get the birds to come along and try and eat the vine weevil and get rid of them. It's probably the only way to battle them. There are nematodes and other methods that would work at keeping them out as well. What's next? David, nothing there before, so could be a bad supplier. It could be they were in the soil and you just didn't know about it. Could be the supply, 2 different ways, but they're either vine weevil or chafer grubs. I'm leaning more towards the vine weevil, if I'm honest. And in order to try and get rid of them, they often find them in pots. And what I found the best way to try and get rid of them when you get them in pots is to lay down a tarp, empty all the soil out of the pots into the tarp, and then the chickens and the birds come in and eat all the weevils. They will do it. Ian McGorgan, I tried growing a money plant. I am penniless now. I was expecting that from Ian Beddoes, one of his jokes, but we'll let you have that one, Ian McGorgan. I tried growing a money plant, but I'm penniless now. Yeah. Let's get rid of this banner. But keep your failures and successes coming in. If you want to call in, the phone lines are still open, 07307 135 174, or you can zap yourself in on the link that's going up in the chat right now. Just click on that link on your phone. It will access your webcam, access your microphone, and you appear on the screen next to me. Now, Adrian is saying, my father used to grow mushrooms in the outhouse on a suburban house. They never came up. Then they went on holiday and they sprung up. My grandfather was giving them away. Yeah, I know mushrooms, I believe, like somewhere dark and humid and very moist, damp almost. Like I said, I've never tried, and I can never try growing mushrooms because of my allergy. It's just not worth the risk. Ballysidon, a success is growing grass on my lawn. My failure is stopping grass growing in my veg beds. Yeah. We all have it, don't we? I mean, the couch grass grows in my veg beds on the allotment, constantly ripping it out and trying to keep on top of it. Very, very difficult. Ian McGorgan, I grew mushroom kits box, just put it in a dark place and it worked a treat. Here we go. I can't really add anything to that. I've never tried growing mushrooms. I can't grow mushrooms. So I'm not even going to try and attempt it. Now, what did I want to say? So coming up on the podcast this week, coming out tomorrow night, I've got what seeds we can sow throughout August and what tasks we can do in the garden throughout August, as well as my product of the week, of the month, sorry. Now, I've had a month using my battery-powered hedge trimmer, so we've got a little bit of what that's like after a month's worth of use. And then a new tool that I've bought, and it arrived yesterday, so I've yet to use it. You will hear it on the podcast, is a Clark soil sifter. So it's one that I'm going to pop a compost in, got a handle to turn, and it will sieve all this soil out and through, and hopefully lead us with some good, nice sifted compost. Many of you will know that during lockdown last year, I did try building one out of an old washing machine drum, which did sort of work, but it was a lot of work to try and use it and didn't really work as well as I hoped. But it was made out of scrap, what I had lying around, as was the idea at the time. And now I've just bit the bullet and I've brought this rotary soil sieve, manually powered, as a way of just seeing if it's going to work any better, sift through my compost and see what happens. It may work, it may not, I don't know. I may find it too much hard work. That's the thing why I want to keep reviewing it after a month's worth of use to find out if it's actually worth its use and if I keep using it. So many things, and we touched on this last week, so many things I've bought, I've used once and then never used again. That's what I want to try and avoid. Now, Adrian, we mix straw, chaff and horse manure in our double garage. I guess that's for where the mushrooms were growing in. Digwell, I have a few tips for you about the Clark rotary sieve if you want them. Yeah, please do let me know the tips in the comments. That'd be very, very useful. Or you can call in 07307 135 174 or zap yourself in. I thought I got rid of that. Or zap yourself in and appear on screen. I don't know if I thought I removed. Did I remove somebody by accident? Was somebody in the chat that I didn't see or hit by the wrong button? I hope not. Andrew Norris, hi all. I'm sorry, I have been in the garden. Where else? Well, it's lovely to see you anyway, Andrew. What have you been up to in your garden? I know you're in Croatia, so things are probably a bit different. You probably haven't quite got the same weather that we've got here. I've added the link if you want to zap yourself in for the last few minutes, or call in on 07307 135 174. Number is running across the bottom of the screen if you want to call in. Next Sunday, I've seen the live show, and we're going to be talking about rainwater saving. But during the day, the Maze Garden, which I visited for the last couple of years, except for last year, and that has its open day again, which I'm looking forward to going to and seeing again. If anybody is local to, this is in Siddlesham near Chichester, if anybody is local and is going to go to it, let me know. We'll pop along and say hello and see how things are. I'm trying to keep an eye now that nobody's zapping in, because I'm really worried I booted someone by accident. So Digwell has come in with these tips for this Clark rotary sieve. When you build it, put the bottom row of screws back to front so the threads go on the outside. That way small stones will not jar your arms as they get jammed up with the rotary bar. Well, that's a very good tip, and that makes a lot of sense. I will certainly do that. Ian McGorgan, Richard, have you seen Ellen Mary's Friend on the TV? TV set, yeah, Michael Parry on QVC, I know who you're talking about, had a rotary powered 3-prong fork that worked for weeding. Yes, I did see that. I can't remember who makes it now. It looks quite interesting, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to work for weeding, but certainly chopping things down. Andrew Norris, I suspect gardening where you are is very different. Is a very different thing. This is what we're waiting for. Digwell's second tip: put a few washers under the central shaft to raise the rotary bar. Also to stop the jarring of your arm. Fantastic. I can see the jarring of your arm being a big thing. This is why I've avoided buying one in the past, because I just see it going like that. You can't see what I'm doing, can you there? Doing that sort of action, I can see it becoming a very tiring very, very quickly. I know the electric ones, I was offered an electric one, but they're big and it's difficult to keep, and you can't use it on the allotment without power. Digwell's, that's advice from his experience. Fantastic. When I build it, I will bear that in mind, because I think that's something that does need thinking about. Andrew says, compared to his mother's garden in Surrey, gardening in Crochet is very, very different. David Mosley, saved some good bags of seed compost from last year, as compost this year has got bad. Yeah, I've got several bags of seed sowing compost still outside, as well as, just going to have a look in my pot, I've still got a lot in there as well. I try and buy fresh seed sowing compost every year, but I buy seed sowing compost and I'll buy multi-purpose compost. They're the only two composts I find I need. I used to buy like seed sowing compost, then John Innes number 2, then John Innes number 3. Seed sowing compost is all I need now, just to start the seeds off, and then I'll go on to multi-purpose compost. Digwell also says, I welded an extension shaft on mine so I could use a battery drill on it. I'll send a photo during the week. Yeah, please do. My one arrived yesterday. I've yet to put it together. I'll probably put it together tomorrow night, but this is the whole point of trying to test these things out and see what works for the podcast. I said, my battery hedge trim, I'm very, very happy with the battery hedge trim. All my battery tools I'm very happy with. I know we've talked about battery tools a lot on this live show over the last few months. But I've got to say, for me, petrol has its merits. If I was a professional, I probably would still want a petrol lawnmower or petrol garden tools. But as a domestic or a keen gardener, what's the word? Amateur gardener, I find the battery tools just work fantastic. They're powerful enough, they're light enough that I can use them all day and don't really cause me any issues. Right, Digwell's got to go now. My salad is getting warm. LOL. Well, that's right, because we've only got a couple minutes before we close up ourselves. So you take care, Digwell, and thank you so much for sharing this recipe. And please do keep them coming. Like I say, anybody out there does want to share a video of something that they've done on their allotment, got a question, anything like that, then please do share it to me. You can send it to me via WeTransfer.com. Go there, you upload your video to that. Enter Richard at theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. If you want to email me, just check that's my email address, please do. And we can play in your videos that way. And if you want to share any photos, send it to me, Richard at theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Post it in our Facebook group, or post it or send it to me via social media, anything like that. So just before we finish up, the Clark sieve looks good, but I use a strong mesh and pot it on top of a wheelbarrow and shovel the compost soil and use the shovel to get the compost sieved. Works good as you can stand up. Yeah, I've done that in the past. I've done that many, and that's what I would do a lot, but I'm just looking to try something else and see if we get better results. Who knows? I might end up falling back onto that the old way. Richard Golden says, have you seen Clarkson's Farm on Amazon? Yes, I have. Absolutely loved it. It's very, I'm not really a visual person in that sense. I don't watch TV hardly ever at all. Only time we might watch TV is on the Saturday night when wife and I just sat down in the front room. Rest of the time we don't watch TV. We probably watch Netflix and Amazon Prime more than TV, but even that, I seldom watch anything these days. But Clarkson's Farm, we started watching it, and within 3 days we had watched the whole lot. Absolutely loved it. If anybody has got Amazon Prime and hasn't seen it, highly recommend it, because it just shows Clarkson in a different light. I've got to say that, but also just shows that farming isn't as easy as what we think, as I'm sure many of us are well aware. Grow Your Own, I feel, kind of highlights just it's not so easy, but that really did answer a lot of questions. Adrian is saying, another very good chat as usual, Richard. Thank you very much. Well, it's all down to you guys. You guys are what make the chat. So we'll start signing off for this evening. We'll be back again next Sunday at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about rainwater saving, rainwater harvesting. If you've got any photos or videos related to that, then please do get them shared and over to me, and we will talk about that next week. And let us know your thoughts on it and what you can do and everything like that. And save your chat for that next week. That's 6 p.m. next Sunday, 6 p.m. UK time. Is it British summertime at the moment? I don't know what it is in other parts of the world, but we'll work with it. Anyway, right. Thanks so much for joining me again this week. It's been lovely. I'll be back Monday night with the audio podcast, where I've got what I'm doing throughout August, etc., as I said earlier. Take care, and I'll see you again next time. Damn it.